After months of closure, Disneyland Paris finally reopens to the public today, Wednesday the 15th of July. I was lucky enough to be there 2 days ago on Monday the 13th for the annual Passholder preview day, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this vlog. Hello everyone, I am Britt Marie Box, and in today's vlog I'm going to tell you all about the reopening of Disneyland Paris. I was there on Monday and I got to experience firsthand the procedures that they've put in place to help keep you safe and to help keep the magic alive. I've got a few things that I want to discuss with you. I've got a lot of thoughts about it, and I'm really excited to share it all with you today. First things first, I want to talk about actually booking tickets. Now, I'm an annual pass holder, so normally I can just book my travel and accommodation and just rock up there whenever I want. But unfortunately, due to everything that's going on, a lot of procedures have been put in place, even down to how you get into the park. So for annual pass holders like myself, we need to go onto the Disneyland Paris website and register our day. This is so they know exactly how many people are going to be in the parks at any one time, and it's completely understandable. Just outside the park gates was security, and security was happening as normal. You took your bags off, you put it through the X-ray scanner, any metal on the top, and you went through the body scanner as normal. There was no differences there, there was no temperature checks, but there was a hand sanitizer station that you had to use before security and just after security as well. There were markers on the floor to show where you can't stand, so that in the gaps you could stand, and that would leave adequate space between you and the party behind you and the party in front of you. The parks were running at about 25% capacity, so even though there was a queue to get in the car park and then a further queue to get into the actual park, once we were there and people had dispersed, the park felt really quite empty, and it was lovely. There was so much space to walk around, to dance around and prance around, and it just felt really comforting that there wasn't anyone around me. And I remember remarking to Tim that I felt safer there than I did in our local Tesco, where social distancing seems to have gone out the window at the moment. Okay, let's discuss the elephant in the room and the one major difference about heading to Disney in the later part of 2020, and that's wearing a face covering. So you are not allowed in without a face covering, and the majority of people that I saw had put theirs on just as they were getting out of the car. So the whole walk from the car park to the village, through security and into the parks, everyone was pretty much already wearing theirs, including me and Tim. You do have to wear a face covering to be let in. I think the only exceptions are children under 11. I'm not sure about medical exceptions. That is something you'll have to look up on the website. But from what I saw, every adult and child over 11 was wearing a face covering. I'll be honest, as someone who's not used to wearing a face covering or a mask or anything like that, except maybe at Halloween, it was a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit weird. We've only just really started wearing them in the UK, and I know it's mandatory in shops in the UK from this month. I started wearing mine a couple of weeks ago, just out and about on short trips, but obviously being in Disney is a really long day and is a completely different experience if you're not used to wearing one. And when we went, it was nearing 30 degrees, so it was very, very hot. But it was bearable, and I did find that I got used to it over the course of the day. But I do have some top face covering tips for you. So number one, bring a spare. And this is so gross, but my face was just sweaty. It was 30 degrees. I was hot. I was walking around Disney. I was excited. I was getting rather damp. And I really wish I had brought a spare. I did bring a spare, funnily enough, but I left it in the car. So make sure if you bring a spare face covering with you, you have it in your bag. What I had to do was buy a spare there. They didn't have any of the Disney ones in stock, although I know they are planning on stocking those real soon, but they did have some single-use only ones, the sort of blue papery type ones, and I bought one of those just as a little bit of relief during the afternoon so I could dry off my original face covering. Another tip I have is to moisturize the tops of your ears. Again, especially if you're not used to wearing one, the rub of the elastic can get really sore after only an hour. So I popped a little bit of moisturizer on the tops of my ears, and Tim did the same, and I do find that that really, really helped. Another tip I have for face coverings is mints. Yes, bring some mints with you, and then when you are feeling a little bit stuffy, just have a mint and you'll create a little menthol tent on your face, and I do find that that was quite pleasant. So face coverings do have to be kept on at all times. You can't take them off for photos, either with characters, again, which I'll go on to in a minute, or if there's nobody around you, you do have to keep them on at all times, with the exception of eating and drinking. And what they are asking you to do is to sit down and have something to eat and drink, and then you can take off your face covering, have a bit of a breather, have some food and drink. I think what they're trying to discourage is people just having their mask off and just having a snack as they're walking around the park, because then it seems a little bit pointless. Okay, next thing I want to talk to you about is character meets. Now, these are a little bit different. They're set up a little bit differently in this day and age in the parks, but I do assure you they were still just as fun. So instead of queuing up and getting some close one-on-one time with your favourite characters, they are instead offering you the chance to have selfies with the characters in the background. They are set a little bit further apart, obviously, for social distancing and safety guidelines. So instead of you being right next to them, they'll be either up on a plinth, on a step, on a pavilion, and just that little bit further away. But we didn't really notice a difference, apart from the no hugging and the no signing of autograph books. The queues we found were really short, and I don't know if this is because it was the annual Passholder day, but we didn't queue for longer than 5 minutes, and we met Minnie Mouse, Daisy Duck, Donald Duck and Goofy. And just to show you how much fun can be had from a distance, here's a little clip of Donald starting a fight with Tim after he found out that Tim quite liked Daisy. Another bit of faraway fun was something very unexpected when I got asked if I wanted to play charades with Goofy, and this is how that turned out. Hi boys. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Oh! To make up for the fact that character meets are a little bit different, we did notice there were just a lot more characters present in the park. From seeing them walk past you just as you're strolling down to your next ride, or having a look up at the castle and seeing some people waving, we did find that there were just more characters out and about in the parks. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled and have a look for them. As well as the traditional Disney characters, I did happen to spy a couple of other people as well. Here you'll see me with the Disneyland Paris president, Natasha, and the Disneyland Paris ambassador as well. They were really, really lovely, and it was great to meet them, albeit from a short distance. Okay, next I want to talk to you about rides. So we went on a couple of rides to see how the distancing was, and I think they're doing a really, really good job with it. So at the moment, there are no fast passes. Normally, I'm an advocate for fast passes. I love them. That's kind of the only way I go on rides in the park, that and extra magic hours, because I don't like queuing when I'm only there for a short time. But there are no fast passes at the moment. And this is because they just want to be able to concentrate on managing the one queue, and I can completely understand that. All throughout the main queue, there are social distancing markers on the floor just to make sure that people aren't bunched up. You may have noticed, I've said a couple of times, it really wasn't busy when we went. So it's hard to see this in practice because the Indiana Jones ride, for example, was a 5-minute wait, and that 5 minutes was just the length of time it took us to walk the queue. But I'm sure that over the courses of the weeks, when it starts getting a little bit busier, people will be respectful of the social distancing markers and make sure that you are not too close to the people in front and behind you. As well as the markers on the floor, there was also perspex shields throughout some of the rides. So Big Thunder Mountain, for example, where the queue is normally just separated by a small waist height wooden maze, if you will. It now has perspex shields on the top of it just to give you that little bit of distance between you and the person who would have been right next to you. And I did see that there is 3 kilometers of perspex shields being used on rides in Disneyland Paris, and I think most of that went on Big Thunder Mountain. There are also hand sanitizers as you go into the rides and come off of the rides as well, so you can use them just before you go on and just as you come off. And when they are seating you, they are doing every other row. So Indiana Jones, for example, where the carts are 6 rows, we were in the front row and then the next person was in the row behind us. The same on Big Thunder Mountain, they were leaving a row between people. And we went on the little boat ride, which has normally got 3 rows in it, but because it wasn't busy, Tim and I had a boat to ourselves, and that was quite fun too. All right then, next I want to talk to you about shopping. So they are encouraging card and contactless payment. So if you've got any euros squirreled away, I would recommend popping them in your bank account and getting something like a Monzo or a Revolut card. There were several signs throughout the shops that encouraged you to touch only what you wanted to buy. So not to just pick things up and give things a squeeze and a sniff, just leave them be and only pick them up if you wanted to purchase them. There were also a couple of other signs that basically said you can ask for something out the back, so you don't have to have a display item. I'm not sure if this was happening with every product, but I did see a row of Loungefly bags with a sign next to it that said please ask a cast member to get you essentially a fresh one out the back, so they didn't have to have too much on the shop floor. And talking of the shop floor, if you've been in the Emporium in Disneyland Paris, you'll know it can get quite hectic and quite busy. And I'm pleased to say that they've accounted for this. What they've done is taken out a lot of the shop units that were in the store to allow for a much more open space and more free flow of foot traffic, allowing you to keep your distance from anyone else in the shop. To avoid large crowds as well, there are no illumination fireworks at the end of the day or parade in the middle of the day either at the moment. But what they are doing is spontaneously doing a fountain show in front of the castle with the music of the Welcome Back to Disneyland song, which I've had stuck in my head since we got back. These we noticed were kind of unprompted and spontaneous to avoid a large gathering, which I think is really clever. And we did manage to catch it twice. So here's a little snippet of that now.
Jump on in, join the fun. There's a place for everyone. Where we laugh and play all day, coming on to Disneyland. Welcome back, it's been too long. To the place we all belong. Stepping back into the magic, coming on to Disneyland. Oh, we just can't wait to begin again. When the party gets to popping, there ain't no stopping. Get up and don't delay. Coming on to Disneyland.
The photo pass photographers were also out. We did see quite a few of them because obviously when you're there on a normal occasion, you could ask a cast member to take your mobile phone and just take a picture for you. But obviously cast members don't want to touch your stuff, and I completely understand that. So instead of that now, they have more photo pass photographers. Some additional things that I wanted to mention as well are we normally bring a water bottle and fill it up at the parks, but at the moment all of the water fountains are switched off. So make sure you either bring enough to drink or make sure to budget for drinks as well when you're in the park, especially on hot days, because you don't want to get dehydrated. The quick service restaurants that we like to eat at in Disneyland Paris have all become takeout services at the moment, and that's because the seating areas are quite small and a little bit cramped, so it's understandable that they want you to take the food away and to sit outside and have it. We did that at the Market Street Deli, found a lovely corner of the courtyard just to sit and enjoy a toastie, and it was really, really nice. Yes, it is a different kind of magic, but I still really, really enjoyed myself. Like I said, when we booked it super last minute. We didn't even know we were going to do it, and we were a little bit apprehensive because obviously when something is opening, everything is brand new. You don't know if things are going to work, things aren't going to work. But I am really, really impressed with all of the measures that Disneyland Paris have put into place. We really enjoyed our day there, and yes, it was a little bit different, and as I've said before, wearing a face covering in that heat was a little bit uncomfortable, but it was honestly worth it to get back there. Our March trip got cancelled, our May trip got cancelled, and my birthday trip in June got cancelled, and I'd been sort of really down about it, so just popping over there for a day was a really great pick-me-up. Obviously, everyone is going to have different opinions on when is the best time to go and when is the safest time to go, and you've got to do what's best for you. What we did was sat down and weighed up the pros and cons about going, how much of a risk we thought it would be, and we also had the contingency plan that if at any point we didn't feel safe, we would just get straight back in that car and go home. But luckily, everything went really, really smoothly. The cast members all worked incredibly hard, and you could see how proud the president was of all of her cast members. And it's easy to see why. All of the provisions that have been put into place to help keep you safe have honestly really, really impressed me. My completely honest thoughts is maybe if it's your first ever time to Disneyland, I would wait a little bit personally until things are a little bit more back to normal. But if you are a regular and you just want a little dose of magic in your life, then I wouldn't hesitate in going back. In fact, we booked our next trip for next month, August, in 4 weeks' time. So I'm looking forward to see if it'll be exactly the same, if anything will have changed by then, because things keep changing on such a fast basis at the moment that I may post this video and in a week all of the information in it isn't true anymore. So make sure to always check the latest information before you travel. So I do hope that's helped and answered any questions you have about the reopening of Disneyland Paris. If you have any other questions about something I haven't covered, please do comment below and I will get back to you. And I'm going to leave you now with some of my favourite moments from our day trip. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and I'll see you soon.